Good evening and welcome back to the Rory Talks Football channel, your daily Arsenal news updates, debates and my opinions. If you're new to the channel, please do subscribe, smash a like on the video as well. It does massively help me out. How are you all doing? Plenty of you in the chat already. Emilio, good to see you. Sportcat, Vivi Vlad, Andreas, George Christodoulou, good to see you all. It is a Monday. It is the start of the week, but a Monday always just feels a lot better after a big win at the weekend, which, look, we're beginning to get used to in 2024. Sportcat says, well, okay, not if you're Sportcat, because Sportcat is a Chelsea fan. Being a Chelsea fan, I'm still so gutted about yesterday because we will never get that good of an opportunity to win a trophy again with all the injuries Liverpool had and the favourable teams we faced. I agree. I think, Chelsea's route to the final in itself was relatively easy. Did you beat Aston Villa? Was that in the FA Cup that you beat Aston Villa? Yeah, you beat Aston Villa in the FA Cup, right? So you had a relatively easy run. I can't actually remember who you played before Middlesbrough. And then you get to the final. And you play that Liverpool team. And you did. Look, without rubbing salt into the wounds, you did bottle it. You did. Casper, good to see you. Very well, thank you. Ethan, Cedar Tree, Pekka, Peter, Fizzy, Max, Jakub, Carter, Joseph. Boys is back. Good to see you all. Rory, who was your man of the match for Saturday? It was close for me. It was between Jorginho and Kai Havertz. And for me, I think I'd give it to Kai Havertz. I thought he had an excellent game. Really did. Question now is, do they manage to beat Leeds or not? Good question, actually. Good question. Obviously, it affects us whether or not Chelsea beat Leeds, because if they do beat Leeds, we do not play them on the 16th. We won't play them before the Man City game. It'll be after it. So we'll see. I could see it being a draw, to be honest. I thought Neville's quote of billion bottle jobs was a tiny bit harsh. It's not like we played awfully. Yeah. I thought, to be honest, a bit of the whole thing around how, Liverpool were playing kids, and it was like almost like Liverpool were these huge underdogs with, no expensive players and only playing kids. And it's like, okay, look, yes, they had a weakened team. The winner was scored by £75 million Virgil van Dijk. You had a front three of Diaz and including Diaz and Gakpo, who were, nearly 100 million between them. It was weakened, but it wasn't, it wasn't like you were playing a championship side. I'd say Jorginho, yeah, that's fair enough. Played awfully in extra time. That would be, if I was a Chelsea fan, my biggest annoyance would be that in extra time, blatantly started playing for penalties. And it's like, you had the upper hand. Liverpool had brought all of their subs on. The majority of them were kids. The Liverpool team that went into extra time was far weaker than the Liverpool team that started the game. They'd taken off Konate, Robertson, Gakpo. Obviously, Gravenberch had gone off injured. Like, there was a real opportunity there. And I don't even know why you'd, play it out and try and get to penalties, which is basically a coin toss. It was... Poch said we played for penalties because our players were tired, but how our players couldn't manage 120 minutes after a 6-day break is concerning. Yeah, I mean, that's hugely concerning. If your players can't outrun a Liverpool team that had played, more recently than that, and, a bunch of kids that you wouldn't expect to have that sort of stamina, I don't know. Joe says, have we talked about the Everton news yet? No, not yet. We're just talking about Chelsea, really. As an Arsenal fan, I was ready to see some penalties. Yeah, watched 120 minutes of football and didn't even get penalties. Can you explain the Everton situation? Yeah, I can, yeah. So the Everton situation is they had a 10-point deduction for breaching FFP rules, the profit and sustainability rules, which had already been imposed. And that, I believe, was for the 2021 season. Or it's like 3 years leading to that season. So they'd had a 10-point deduction for that. They appealed it, basically saying that the 10 points was too harsh. Typically, it is 6 points. And most people in the industry were expecting it would be 6 points. So when it was 10, there was a bit of a shock. And some of that was down to, there were a couple of things. One was that the Premier League didn't think Everton had cooperated. Everton thought they had cooperated. And this independent panel agreed that Everton had cooperated. The other thing was that Everton are building a new stadium. To build that new stadium, they've taken out loans. On those loans, they have to pay interest. And that interest was being calculated in their profit and loss, but they had been told previously it wouldn't be. So that made the loss look bigger than it should have done. So again, that was part of the appeal. So they won that appeal. So effectively today they gained 4 points because those 10 points had already been taken. 10 points reduced down to 6. So they've lost 6 points, but they've gained 4 today. However, there is obviously another, basically the exact same charge, but for the following set of 3 years. So a year later, that's the same one that Forest are under. Whether or not Everton, get another 6 points, which seems like that will probably be the case, that puts them back in a bit of jeopardy. But it's better than losing 10 points twice, which would be really problematic for them. Shout out to everyone that's watching on TikTok. I do appreciate you all. If you want to join the YouTube chat, the link to the live stream is in my bio on TikTok. But shout out to you. I do appreciate you. Magnus, good to see you. Opinions on who will play left back when Zenchenko is back from injury. Joseph, that perfectly leads me into the little bit of news today. So this is coming from Simon Collins in the Standard. He said Alexander Zenchenko and Thomas Partey are planning to step up their workloads this week in the hope that they make the squad for Arsenal's trip to Sheffield United. The Gunners travel to Bramall Lane this time next week, that Monday night kickoff next week. With Partey and Zenchenko eager to make their comebacks. The pair were close to making the squad for Arsenal's 4-1 win over Newcastle on Saturday. And I'd written the question that you asked myself. Do Zenchenko and or Thomas Partey get back into the starting lineup straight away? For me, the answer is no. Straight up, the answer is no. Both of them have to work their way back into the game. You cannot take the team but bar Trossard for Jorginho, which was the change that we made for the Newcastle game. Apart from that, it's been the same lineup for the last 4 games. Okay, Porto was a bit of a weird one, but in the Premier League, it's one of the best runs of form we've ever had in the Premier League. We will enter, by the time we next play, it will be March, and we'll be entering March averaging more than 4 goals a game in the Premier League in 2024. The defense has been unbelievable statistically. It'd be crazy to change it, in my opinion. Look, you're going to need to make a few changes here and there at some point, just based on resting players. But we played on Saturday, and the following game is next Monday. So they've got an 8/9 day break anyway. So it's not like we're playing twice a week consistently. I think the team will be fine. I think and also in Zenchenko and Partey, realistically, you're talking about 2 injury-prone players. Don't rush them back if you don't need to. There's no rush to bring them back in. I think actually someone just said it up there. Yeah, Young Tar said, don't rush them back too early. If you don't need to rush them back, I think there are other teams that have made that mistake this season of rushing their players back. And for us, it's just not worth it right now. So I'm more than happy for Kivior to continue at left back. And I'm more than happy for us to either play with Jorginho and Rice or to play, Kai Havertz in the midfield and Trossard up top. So no issues. Do you think Smith Rowe can break into the starting 11? Yeah, I think he can, yeah. I do think he can. Look, I thought he was really good when he came on against Newcastle. I was gutted that he didn't score. But before that, he made one run from like the halfway line where he got all the way to the byline, which was decent. And then, could have scored. He actually did everything right with that finish. He actually got it past Karius in goal, and it was blocked on the line. So, look, my love for Emil Smith-Rowe will never diminish. And I do hope he can make it back. But equally, I'm not at that point where I'm desperate for him to come in and start because everyone else is playing so well, Not personally sure if Zenchenko has a long-term future at Arsenal. Do you agree? Look, there are some people, and I'm not really saying if I agree or not, that believe that both, Zinchenko and Jesus won't actually be at the club for much longer, with their injuries being a kind of factor in that. So, why Botman? Yeah, it was Botman that... was it Burn or Botman? Carter said Botman. Emilio said Burn. I actually can't remember, to be honest. I'll be honest, I was a little bit drunk at the game. I'd been to the pub to watch the England rugby match, and yeah. Think we could get 40 to 50 million for Zinni? No. Not with his injury history, I don't think so. And only because as well, if you go and get Zinni, you need to find a team that plays stylistically a way that suits Zinchenko. The majority of teams that Zinchenko would go to need their left back to actually be a good fullback, which we don't massively have with Zenchenko. So I don't think we'd get 40 to 50 million. Yeah, exactly. Realistically, who even buys him? He wouldn't go back to City. Liverpool don't need him. Maybe Manchester United, but would he really go from City to Arsenal to United? And I don't think he'd get. I don't think we'd get 40 to 50 million nowhere near. So Zinchenko to Leverkusen, Grimaldo to Arsenal. Well, I don't think we need to go out and buy another left back. To be fair, at the moment we've got Timber, Zinchenko, Kivior, Tomiyasu, Tierney, and Tavares are still technically on the books. Why sell Zinchenko? Well, we don't have to sell him, but I've got a feeling it might happen, just given how injury prone he is. Anyway, look, today's going to be a bit of a shorter stream because at 7, I'm jumping over onto the Football Terrace, onto the Top 6 show, so we've got to be done by 7. Are you watching the Maidstone United game? Oh, shit, that's on tonight, isn't it? Yeah, I'll watch it after... what time does it kick off? I'll watch it. I'm on the Top 6 from 7 until 8, and then I'll watch it after that. What time does it start? 7:30. We need depth. We can keep him. Yeah, we do need depth. But we've got a fair amount of it. I think we need one more versatile defender who can play centre back and right back. Yeah, well, I mean, we've got thing is, I never really like 7:45. Fair. I never really like Tomiyasu at right back. I actually think Tomiyasu at right back is his weakest spot. So I do agree to an extent. But then we've got Timber. Think about it, really. We've got White, Timber, Tomiyasu. Arguably, I'd assume Saliba could play at right back if he needed to. Do you think Arteta wants Arsenal to score lots of goals just in case the title comes to goal difference? Yeah. It doesn't harm us, does it? We're top of the league on goal difference. And it could come down to that. You know, the way that all three teams are going, there's 2 points between Liverpool and Arsenal with City in between us. The way it's going, the form that all of us are in, it legitimately could come down to goal difference. And right now, Arsenal are 1 goal ahead of Liverpool and 6 goals ahead of Man City. So it's useful. Cara retweeting that offside is mad. You've absolutely teed me up because I wanted to bring that up. Look, if you've not seen this, prepare to get as annoyed as I did. So Jamie Carragher decided to retweet this today, right after the Endo offside yesterday. Again, if you're watching on TikTok, I've got something up on screen on YouTube that you won't be able to see, but you can jump over to that with the link in my bio. But so he retweeted this, and it's just unbelievably stupid. So it was after the Endo offside yesterday, which, look, I thought it was harsh. I'm not a massive fan of VAR digging that deep into a goal to find that offside. But by the letter of the law, it is offside. Endo, as the ball is struck, Endo is in an offside position. He then blocks Levi Colwill. Will Colwill get to the header? Maybe not, but you'll never find out because he doesn't get there because he's blocked off. It gets ruled out. And then you've got this. Every set piece that Arsenal have around the penalty area has 3 players in offside positions to block defenders running back. Not once has a goal been disallowed like it was today. Absolute farce. I mean, Steve Martin, are you a donkey? Is he a donkey? Because let's just look at the picture. So first of all, and this is the big thing here, Declan Rice is absolutely nowhere near the ball. The ball isn't being struck at this point, right? So it doesn't matter where they're stood. They could be stood inside the goal if they wanted to be. The ball isn't in play. Secondly, it's not the same as Endo. This is Kai Havertz and Gabriel Magalhaes. They're 2 of our biggest, most attacking threats at set pieces and corners. So they're not going to be doing what Endo was doing and blocking a defender so that Ødegaard can run onto the ball and head it in. These are players that are going to run back, get themselves onside by the time the ball is struck, and then they'll be attacking the ball to score. If they scored from here, yeah, it would be offside. And he used 3 other examples as well, where just our player was nowhere near actually taking the set piece. And the thing that annoys me here, right, is, okay, fine, Steve Martin's a donkey. He's got "You'll Never Walk Alone" in his flipping username, whatever. But Jamie Carragher retweeting that and giving that some sort of credibility, as if Arsenal are somehow being afforded a different rule book to everyone else, is insane. It's clearly wrong. And I retweeted it. In fact, let me find it. I retweeted, or someone tweeted below. Actually, I won't do that because no one Twitter these days will come up with porn. But someone else replied showing that when Declan Rice actually makes contact with the ball, all of our players are onside. And the thing is, like, referees will genuinely take note of stuff like this. We've seen it already. Remember when they started massively overanalyzing how long Arsenal took to take an attacking corner? And then literally within the next 2 games, both referees hurried up our attacking corners within the first half. They will start looking at it. As it is, those players are not doing anything wrong. Like, there is legitimately no way of ruling that goal out. But it's embarrassing. It's embarrassing that Jamie Carragher is reposting that without even looking at it. It's not good. But that's what we got to deal with. They're scared of us. That's the reality. Is in 2024, Arsenal have been unbelievably good in the Premier League. We comfortably beat Liverpool. We've swept aside Newcastle, Burnley, Palace, West Ham. The only even remotely sort of tricky game we had was Nottingham Forest. And even that wasn't really. It took us a while to score our opening goal. And then we made a mistake at the back to let it get back to 2-1. And then the end was a bit sort of nervy. But even that game, it shouldn't have been that close. So when are we doing Guess the Gooner and Guess the Non-Gooner? Very shortly. Very shortly. How is he not pulled up on this on Sky ever by his bosses? Neville gets a lot more grief, but Carragher never thinks he's wrong, and the Liverpool colours are showing more as the season goes on. Well, this is the issue, right? This is the issue. And Chelsea fans noticed it yesterday when Carragher was on commentary. Carragher should not be on commentary for a Liverpool Cup final. It's ridiculous. And like you said, with Liverpool being in a title race with Arsenal, it's problematic. It is problematic because I think he's actually very good when he's being objective and when Liverpool aren't involved. When Liverpool aren't involved and it has nothing to do with something that will affect Liverpool, I think he's very, very good. Monday Night Football, the analysis that he does, I think he can be very, very good. The issue is he's very, very bad at containing his emotions and at being unbiased. And people will say, well, so am I, right? I always get that on TikTok. Oh, you're biased. It's like, yeah, I make fucking TikToks. I'm not getting paid like millions of pounds a year to be on Sky, and people aren't paying hundreds of pounds a year to watch Sky to see me waffle, right? They're watching me on TikTok for free. So it's not the same. And there should be a level of accountability. And there should just be a level of professionalism. I even thought that, as funny as it was, Gary Neville saying Liverpool's kids against the £1 billion bottle jobs, I don't think that's particularly professional. I don't think that's, again, that's something that I would expect a TikToker to say, not a professional pundit that's on Sky. But it is what it is, His tweet today about wanting to discuss the Liverpool kids on Monday Night Football, like anyone wants to hear more about it. Literally that. I was like, look, it's just no one wants to hear Carragher talking about Liverpool. And also, look, it was impressive what Liverpool did. They did have a lot of kids playing. They still actually had an older squad than Chelsea. Rory, you should be on Sky. Well, I don't think that's ever going to happen. I don't think that's going to happen. But Rory, who is genuinely your favourite pundit? Who is my favourite pundit? I don't actually know. I don't know. Do you know what? There are some pundits who have been on and they've barely had any time. They've never become regular pundits that I've thought are really good. I think Daniel Sturridge has been decent recently. I do think that at times, I think Gary Neville can be great. I think Carragher can be great. I think Roy Keane can be great. Mika Richards, I don't think his analysis of football is that great, but I like him as a person a lot. Wrighty's decent. Walcott's decent. I mean, with Walcott and Wrighty, they are pro Arsenal, to be fair. I think if I was completely unbiased, I'd say, they do join the Arsenal hype. Yeah, Nader Manua was good. Barely ever see him. I thought a couple of years ago, or maybe even like 3 years ago, during like the pandemic and stuff, I thought I saw Tim Cahill was on a few times, and I thought he was really good. Ali McCoist is very good. Yeah, Henry's decent. To be fair, barely see Henry because he's on CBS or whatever it is. Gail Clichy. Yeah, Clichy did that thing recently, right? I didn't actually catch much of that, but I saw people speaking well about it. I like Alan Smith on comms. He's almost anti-Arsenal. Yeah, no, so that really annoys me because Alan Smith tries so hard not to be biased towards Arsenal that he actually ends up being massively against Arsenal, like unfair on Arsenal. Yeah, Ali McCoist is decent. On your TikTok, you said we would lose to City at the Etihad. Do you still stand by that? I do. But as time goes on and we get closer to the game and Arsenal's form continues and City, I still don't think look great. I'm getting more confident. I am getting more confident. But I've still just got a bad feeling about it. Like, I've got a bad feeling we'll lose it like 1-0 or 2-1 and there'll be some dodgy decisions in it as well. But maybe that's just PTSD, you know? Do you think Pep would have won yesterday if he was in Klopp's position? Ooh, good question. No, I don't, actually. But I think Pep's got it wrong a few times this season. In fact, actually, Pep's got it wrong about against Chelsea twice this season. You know, they've drawn to Chelsea twice. He got it wrong the first time they played them. And he pretty much didn't change anything for the second time he played them. Don't get me wrong. I think Pep is brilliant, but I think sometimes his ego can get in the way a bit. I think he could be a bit stubborn. Anyway, it is time for Guess the Gooner, the game where I give you 5 clues about an ex or current Arsenal player, and you have to guess who that player is in the chat. First person to get it right in the chat gets the immense pride and respect of the Rory Talks Football community. So get your fingers on your keyboards. If you're watching on TikTok, get yourselves over to the YouTube chat. The link is in my bio for that for Guess the Gooner. To be honest, every time I look over to the TikTok chat, it's just toxic. So that's why I focus on the Arsenal, on the YouTube chat. There you go. Someone's calling me a melt. Look at that. Unnecessary. Anyway, clue number 1 for today's Guess the Gooner. This player has played for 3 different Premier League clubs. They have played for 3 different Premier League clubs. Sorry, Cedar Tree. I'm sorry. You're not an Arsenal chat. Clue number 2. They are a 2 times Premier League winner. Clue number 3. They scored 17 goals in 142 games for Arsenal. 17 goals in 142 games for Arsenal. Clue number 4. They captained the club. They captained Arsenal. And clue number 5. They moved from Arsenal to Spurs in 2010. So they played for 3 different Premier League teams, won 2 Premier League titles, scored 17 goals in 142 games for Arsenal, captained the club, and moved from Arsenal to Spurs in 2010. And I believe someone actually got it very early. They did. And it was the one and only George Christodoulou. It was William Gallas. George Christodoulou got it first. Young Tar got it second. Jermaine got it third. Then we've got to scroll down a while for fourth. VV Vlad was fourth. And Fizzy was fifth. So, I mean, that was a hell of a guess. That was a hell of a guess from George Christodoulou, because I think he basically got it after the first clue. He got it after just the clue that they played for 3 different Premier League clubs. Lots of you guessed Anelka and Gallas. Did Anelka play for 3? I can't actually remember. Was it 3 or 4? Moved around a lot, but it was out in Europe as well. I hate Gallas so much, Vivi Vlad. From the fact that it was part of the Cole deal to his ex-Chelsea, to him getting the number 10 and moving to Spurs, and crying on the fucking pitch with the captain's armband on. It was the most disgraceful captaincy that we've had. That's for sure. to go Chelsea, Arsenal, Spurs as well. That is just no loyalty. Jermaine said, this is my first guest, the Gooner, since you started streaming again. Didn't know it's clues now. Yeah, it's clues now just because I'd basically rinsed through the majority of Arsenal players in the last sort of 20 years I'd gone through. So it would kind of just be repetitive if I did that. So now we can use the same players again, but using clues instead. And Alka as Bolton, Arsenal, Spurs, Man City, and Liverpool on loan. Gee, there you go. Can't think about Gallas without remembering the miserable Birmingham game. Yeah, horrible. Horrible. Absolutely. Anyway, it's time for Guess the Non-Gooner. We've only got 4 minutes left until I need to jump off. Guess the Non-Gooner. I will give you the full career path of a player who does not and has not played for Arsenal. You have to guess who that player is. Let me just drag it up now. Fingers on keyboards for Guess the Non-Gooner. They started their career at Bournemouth. They came through the Bournemouth Academy. They went on loan to Dorchester. They then moved permanently to Burnley. They moved to Liverpool. They went on loan from Liverpool to Southampton. They then moved permanently to Southampton. They then moved to Aston Villa. They then moved to West Ham. So Bournemouth Academy, Dorchester on loan, Burnley, Liverpool, Southampton on loan, Southampton permanently, Aston Villa, West Ham. And people are now getting it in the chat. People are now getting it. A few people were guessing Nathan Ake, which was incorrect. It was not Tyrone Mings. It was not Ben Mee. It was Danny Ings. And the first person to get it correct was Sportcat. Sportcat, congratulations. He was the first person to get it right. Second was George Christodoulou. Third was Jermaine. Fourth was VV Vlad. And fifth was Cedar Tree. There you go. Congratulations to our winners. Well done. Young Tar said he messed up the spelling. Where were you? It was fine. You were outside the top 5 anyway, unfortunately, Young Tar. But there you go, Danny Ings. Danny Ings, I was watching something recently where it's like his combined transfer fees makes him one of the most expensive English players. I think he's in the top 10 most expensive English players of all time in terms of like accumulative transfer fees, which is, yeah, surprising. But not surprising, I guess, when you consider it was like 25 million to Southampton, 29 million to Aston Villa, 12 million to West Ham, 8 million when he went to Liverpool in the first place. So there you go. United away on Saturday was the best day of my life, not going to lie. The last minute limbs, especially when you've conceded a late equaliser in the first place and you're so deflated and it's like, oh my God. We did all of that to not win the game. And especially because Fulham deserved to win the game as well. And you've conceded to Harry Maguire, of all people, to then get the 97th minute winner. That is proper limbs. That is. Now that I would never have guessed. There you go. Jelly Belly thinks he's been robbed. Jelly Belly thinks he has been robbed. Reporting a robbery. Unfortunately, Jelly Belly, on my screen, you were literally 6th. You were 1 behind Cedar Tree on my screen, Danny. Jelly Belly. Unfortunately. That's just the way it is with the internet. Do you think Garnacho goal made Rice and Jesus limbs even better? Yeah, 100%. 100%. I was at the United game when that happened. And especially because the Garnacho goal went in, and I think most of us actually thought it was onside at the time. Like it felt, you know, when you see it in real time, because of the way Saliba jumped out, like it looked onside. So I didn't think it was going to get overturned by VAR. So it was limbs. No, Jelly Belly, I promise the way it works is that because when you type a message and press enter, it immediately shows up on your screen, right? But in terms of like the overall where it is when everyone's typing at the same time, other people's have like, it takes a bit of time before it goes through the internet to get onto my screen. And so everyone's comes through, you know, if you've got quick internet, I'm not going to lie, you've got an advantage. You've got an advantage. Anyway, that is going to be the end of the stream. I massively appreciate you all for joining. Sorry, it's a short one. I'm jumping over to the Football Terrace YouTube channel, the Top 6 show. I'll be on there for the next hour. Other than that, we'll be back tomorrow night. Please do subscribe, smash a like on the video. You're all legends. I hope you have a fantastic evening, and I'll catch you tomorrow. Goodbye. And same to you, Tiki Toki.